What's good? What's good? It's the one, the only, but what do I know? Boxing coming back at y'all with another one, man. We got Eddie Hearn clapping back. We gonna clap back. We gonna clap back. We gonna clap back. We gonna clap back. Clapping back at Oscar De La Hoya for some things that Oscar De La Hoya had to say. Shout out to Fight Hub TV, Marcus Vegas, man. Fan of his channel, man. He always does great interviews, man. He just did an interview with Eddie Hearn, and Eddie Hearn has some things to say at De La Hoya. So I'm gonna touch on what Eddie Hearn had to say, and then I'm gonna give you my aspect of just to kind of sum up confusions that might be there, you know. So take a listen.
He wants to maintain his belts.
Yeah, we spoke to Oscar yesterday, and he said that he feels with the opponents, Canelo's regressing a bit. Though you mentioned some info that he's the mandatory, but that's what he feels.
Billy Joe Saunders, unification. Caleb Plant, undisputed fight. Dimitri Bivol, who Oscar De La Hoya said, they're stupid taking that fight. That was such a tough fight. They're idiots. But all of a sudden, he's taking easy fights. I mean, Oscar will say whatever suits him. I don't think half the time he knows what he's saying, but he will never speak honestly about Canelo Alvarez. Because at the end of the day, Canelo Alvarez left Golden Boy. Okay, and he's never been able to accept that. But what he should do is respect a fighter that he knows deep down will fight anybody, and has continuously done that his whole career. So, you know, I think he needs to look at some of his own matchmaking, particularly Zurdo Ramirez this weekend, and particularly Jaime Munguia, which has been absolutely horrific and embarrassing.
Now, it's not too often I agree with old Eddie Hearn, but in this situation, I definitely agree with old Eddie Hearn. Because for one, this is my thing, bro. Well, it's gotta suck being De La Hoya, especially after what happened yesterday. Speaking of the fighters that De La Hoya has, in which Eddie Hearn did, by bringing up Zurdo Ramirez, who came in, from what I hear, I heard two different things. Now, one source says 182, but Gabe Rosado says 187. So if he came in at 187, he came in 12 pounds above the weight limit of 175. That is more, either way it goes, 182 or 187, 7 pounds or 12 pounds, that is more than embarrassing. And, you know, that's unprofessional and embarrassing, just everything. So I know De La Hoya is definitely kicking himself in the butt right now, right? But let me just say this, as far as what De La Hoya has to say about Canelo, listen, anything De La Hoya has to say, you have to take it with a grain of coke, okay? Because for one, we all know that De La Hoya has proved to be a bitter person. Hell, look at all the stuff that he's done with Floyd Mayweather. Him and Floyd Mayweather fought May of 2007. It might have been May 5th. I know it was May of 2007, right? Now, years has went by, right? I remember 10 years later, 2017, De La Hoya is still writing letters saying why Floyd Mayweather is bad for boxing and stuff like that. De La Hoya, he's a bitter person, bro. So the fact that Canelo left De La Hoya, now all of a sudden De La Hoya wants to say that Canelo was ducking Benavidez, or now he's trying to say, so you know, I don't, anything that De La Hoya has to say about Canelo, again, take with a grain of coke. But what I wanted to talk about in this video is the confusion that people get. I see a lot of people that get this confusion with people targeting Canelo. People like saying, man, you know, Canelo, like people just hate on Canelo. Listen, let me let you know something right now. Canelo is the face of boxing. This happens all the time when you're the face of boxing, bro. This did not start with Canelo, all right? The same thing happened with Floyd Mayweather. Same thing happened with De La Hoya. Like, bro, when you're the face of boxing, bro, you get put to a higher standard than any other regular boxers. So when people try to make it seem like that people are just only hating on Canelo because he's Canelo, no, if you've been around boxing a long time and you're not just a Johnny come lately, you know that anytime that you're the face of the boxing, you get held from a different standard. You get held to a different standard than any other fighter, okay? I'm gonna give you some examples, a few examples, okay? You often hear of, let's say so you know how boxing, you know, every sport has their LeBron James, Kobe Bryant's, Michael Jordan's, right? Boxing is the same, but then you also have you have the LeBron James, right? The Kobe Bryant, the Michael Jordans, the guys that took over, like in like hip hop situation. You have the Drake, the Lil Wayne, the Jay-Z. You know, you have the guys that took over, and then you got the guys, then you got the really, really, really good guys like the greats that are not the iconic greats though. Like you have, like I said, in basketball, you have the icons like LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, but then you also got the Kevin Durant's. You know, you got the Damian Lillards, you got the Dwayne Wade, you got these guys that are also great, but they have not taken over the sport the way LeBron James did, or you know, or in hip hop, like I said, you got Jay-Z, Wayne, you got Drake, right? But then you know you got the guys underneath them, you know, like you know the T.I.s, the Ludas, you know, you got 50 Cent, like these guys were not at, well, I don't know, 50 Cent, I probably shouldn't have said 50 Cent, but you got the Ludas and stuff like where they weren't as iconic as Jay-Z, but they're greats though. They're greats, right? Well, it's no different from boxing. You have the Canelos, the Mayweathers, the De La Hoyas, right? But then you got these great fighters like David Benavidez. You got Demetrius Andrade, the Charlos. You got all these other greats, but they're not iconic the way Canelo is, right? So the thing is, my reason for bringing that point up is like, so if Canelo fights one person, right, we might say, dang, why is Canelo fighting this dude? This dude does nothing for Canelo. But then let's say if like somebody else that's not as iconic as Canelo fights that same person, we might say, okay, that's good for their resume. Then you got the Canelo fans that'll be like, well, bro, nah, so he's good for him, but he's not good for Canelo. I'll give you an example. Like, I remember a while ago, there were talks of Canelo fighting David Lemieux, right? Now, I personally never wanted to see that fight. Like, I really just thought David Lemieux, like Canelo is way above this. He just doesn't need to fight David Lemieux. The fight makes no sense. I did not want to see that fight. Absolutely, David Lemieux did nothing for Canelo's resume. However, with David Benavidez fighting David Lemieux, I was saying, okay, that's another good, decent name under David Benavidez. That David Lemieux does better for David Benavidez than he would for a Canelo. All right, we've seen Canelo in there with the Mayweathers, the Cottos, the Lauras, the Triple G, and there's stipulations to some of these guys, but still, bro, we've seen them in there with Caleb Plant, Billy Joe Saunders, Sergey Kovalev. We've seen them in there with these guys, Danny Jacobs, all these guys, right? So David Lemieux does not fit into those guys' criteria. However, with David Benavidez not being as established with Canelo, I would rather see David Lemieux. In that situation, David Lemieux does something for David Benavidez. He looks better on David Benavidez's resume. I'm sorry, that's what I should have said. He looks better on David Benavidez's resume. He does more for David Benavidez than he would for Canelo. Canelo versus David Lemieux wouldn't have proved anything, because I know for a fact Canelo would have whitewashed the hell out of David Lemieux. And I know that David Benavidez, I picked David Benavidez to beat David Lemieux as well. But again, because David Benavidez is not on the same plateau as Canelo, David Lemieux does more for David Benavidez, right? Same with, no different from Mayweather, bro. We had these same talks with Mayweather. I didn't want to see no Mayweather versus no damn Andre Berto, bro. Nobody wanted to see that. I wanted to see Mayweather versus Keith Thurman, right? So nobody wanted to see Mayweather versus Andre Berto. But let's say, for example, if Errol Spence, right? If Errol Spence was calling out Mayweather and he would have fought Andre Berto, that would have been a good measuring stick for Errol Spence. Andre Berto would have looked better on Errol Spence's resume than he would have on a Floyd Mayweather. Now, at that particular time, nobody cared for Andre Berto at that moment. We all knew that Andre Berto, he had his time. We knew that wasn't going to be a competitive fight, and in fact, that was just a high case sparring match, right? But that's just how the game goes, bro. And so you can't be upset when people hold Canelo to a certain criteria. Yeah, there's gonna be hate, bro. I mean, it's always gonna be hate. You're not gonna be able to please everybody, all right? You're just not gonna be able to do that. But at the same time, you have to understand that Canelo is the face of boxing, and with being the face of boxing comes a higher standard. So it's not hate. It's not that well, I'm not gonna say it's not that, because people do hate. It's some people that can't stand Canelo, right? And I'm not gonna discredit the reason for not liking Canelo, because in some cases, yes, they actually have valid reasons to dislike Canelo. But all I'm saying is, Canelo does get held at a higher standard, you know? Just like Caleb Plant, right? Well, Caleb Plant versus Canelo versus Caleb Truax that would be absolutely like terrible, right? But Caleb Plant versus let me stop, because you know Caleb Truax really didn't even do nothing for Caleb Plant. But okay, Uzcategui versus Canelo, like nobody would want to see that, like, right? That's like, bro, come on, nobody cares. But Uzcategui actually does enhance Caleb Plant's resume and his stock. You know what I'm saying? But speaking of Caleb, there's a flip side to what I'm saying with this Canelo. See, now I always say it's something that you guys got to stop doing, and it's not just it's just fans in general, but you know, you guys got to stop discrediting these fighters, but then expect for your favorite fighters to get a lot of praise for fighting. Like, for example, speaking of Caleb Plant, when it was announced that Canelo was gonna fight Caleb Plant, man, if you go just look at before the fight, look at what everybody had to say about Caleb Plant. Oh, bro, he's a C-level fighter, bro. He hasn't fought anybody, bro. Like, that dude has not done anything, right? Now, you'll sit there and say that, but then when Canelo beats him, you'll sit there and say, oh, man, Canelo just beat Caleb Plant. Bro, you just said Caleb Plant was a C-level fighter, so now you want this all of a sudden almighty praise that Canelo beat a C-level fighter? Like, no, that's not how this works. So it's a flip side. It's a flip side too that you guys have to stop doing as well. Stop discrediting your possible opponents and then expect to get praise for them after they beat them. You know what I'm saying? Like, that just doesn't make sense. But anyways, that's my take on it for today. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. But what do I know?